Now, blame game over coronavirus pandemic continues to escalate between United States and China. In his recent offensive against China, US President Donald Trump accused Beijing of embarking on a massive disinformation campaign. He also took a swipe at his rival in the November presidential election, Joe Biden. Taking to Twitter, Trump said China is spreading misinformation as they are desperate to have Joe Biden win the presidential elections so that they can continue to rip off the United States. Trump has repeatedly called out China for spreading the virus, earlier referring to a statement issued by some wacko in China. In fact, this is what Trump said. Trump accused Beijing for dodging coronavirus blame and claimed the country's incompetence sparked pandemic. Trump's attack came right after Chinese Foreign Ministry on May 19th said that Trump was trying to shift the blame for Washington's own mishandling of the COVID-19 crisis.
China likely cut its exports of medical supplies prior to its January WHO World Health Organization notification that COVID-19 is a contagion. The report reads, according to one source, "You've got the facts just about right," Pompeo told ABC's This Week. When asked if China intentionally stockpiled medical supplies in early January while it concealed the severity of COVID-19. "We can confirm that the Chinese Communist Party did all that it could to make sure that the world didn't learn in a timely fashion about what was taking place." The Trump administration is reportedly formulating a long-term plan to punish China on multiple fronts for the coronavirus pandemic. In response, the Chinese government has run a powerful propaganda campaign, promoting the theory that the U.S. military imported the coronavirus to Wuhan during the Military World Games held in Wuhan last October. It was the largest military sports event ever to be held in China, with nearly 10,000 athletes from over 100 countries competing in 27 sports. Some articles on popular sites in Chinese have accused American athletes participating in the Wuhan Military World Games to have deployed the virus. They claim the inattentive attitude and disproportionately below average results of American athletes in the game indicate they might have been in for other purposes, and they might actually be bio-warfare operatives, and that their place of residence during their stay in Wuhan was also close to the Huanan seafood wholesale market, where the first known cluster of cases occurred. Any Chinese person who disputes that narrative on social media can have their account shut down, and their families arrested. Rabbi Pinchas Winston, a prominent End of Days author, gave a disclaimer before explaining the biblical context of the rising Sino-American tensions. But what is clear is that everyday routines are not going to go back to familiar pre-pandemic conditions. It is also becoming clear that the pandemic is affecting global events in entirely unanticipated ways. In the 1920s, the Depression led to World War II, which led to the Holocaust. Who could have known that the Depression would start a series of events culminating in death camps and millions of people being killed? Even after Kristallnacht, people did not know that such a wave of destruction was about to wash over the entire world. Most people get their information from the internet, so we only hear bits and pieces of the big picture. Now, as events unfold, more and more of what has been going on for some time is being revealed. The average person stood back horrified at the pandemic ravaging the world. But now we say from their actions that the Chinese government saw this as an opportunity to shift the power balance. The average person is thinking about staying healthy, but as events unfold, we see that there are other factors. We do have a prophecy of a war between the East and the West. The war of Gog and Magog looming over us. Someone, some country, is going to be the bad boy that set events in motion. We always make the mistake of trying to use human logic to understand a larger-than-human historical process. In a recent interview, Rabbi Daniel Azer warned that the United States and China will go to war against each other. He explains this war was predicted by the secret tzaddik, Saint Rabbi Yehuda Lefkovich. Rabbi Lefkovich predicted that the Third World War will start between China and America over 20 years ago, before the tensions were at the level that they are today. According to Rabbi Lefkovich, this war will be the biblical war of Gog and Magog. Russia will join China in the war, Rabbi Azer added. At the same time, he points to Rabbi Levi Saadia Nakamani, who predicted 20 years ago that Iran will wage a war against Israel and will receive military assistance from North Korea. This China-led Gog and Magog alliance may have already begun. In December, China, Iran, and Russia held joint naval drills in the Indian Ocean and Sea of Oman, which were meant to deepen cooperation between the three countries' navies. Iranian Rear Admiral Hossein Khanzadi described the significance of the drills. When we talk about joint war games, we are talking about two or more countries with a high level of relations in various political, economic, and social fields, which culminate in cooperation in the military sector, with war games usually being the highest level of such cooperation. Khanzadi said to Iran's Tasnim news agency, "A joint war game between several countries, whether on land, at sea, or in the air, indicates a remarkable expansion of cooperation among them," he added.
Some governors have deemed liquor stores and abortion clinics as essential, but have left out churches and other houses of worship.
At the heart of so many American communities, religion has been a flashpoint in this pandemic. Some pastors defying state orders to close.
This is an affront and attack upon all Christians across the world.
Others reopened weeks ago, only to shut down again after a spike in new infections.
The governors need to do the right thing and allow these very important essential places of faith to open right now. If they don't do it, I will override the governors.
How he intends to do that isn't clear, leaving his press secretary to explain.
Under what authority would he do that?
You're posing a hypothetical, though. Boy, it's interesting to be in a room that desperately wants to seem to see these churches and houses of worship stay closed.
Some governors have deemed liquor stores and abortion clinics as essential, but have left out churches and other houses of worship. It's not right. So I'm correcting this injustice.
A political prescription for his evangelical base of ardent supporters. The president urged governors to lift restrictions on church gatherings immediately, but also threatened action that goes beyond his own power.
If they don't do it, I will override the governors. In America, we need more prayer, not less.
The president did order the CDC to provide direction, Friday posting interim guidance that suggests places of worship encourage face coverings, limit the size of gatherings, consider suspending choirs and singing, which can transmit the virus, hold services outside if possible, and increase cleaning and disinfecting. Friday, the president was also in campaign gear,
November 3rd's a big day.
seizing on his Democratic rival's controversy.
This pandemic continues to escalate between United States and China. In his recent offensive against China, U.S. President Donald Trump accused Beijing of embarking on a massive disinformation campaign. He also took a swipe at his rival in the November presidential election, Joe Biden. Taking to Twitter, Trump said China is spreading misinformation as they are desperate to have Joe Biden win the presidential elections so that they can continue to rip off the United States. Trump has repeatedly called out China for spreading the virus, earlier referring to a statement issued by some wacko in China. In fact, this is what Trump said. Trump accused Beijing for dodging coronavirus blame and claimed the country's incompetence sparked pandemic. Trump's attack came right after Chinese Foreign Ministry on May 19th said that Trump was trying to shift the blame for Washington's own mishandling of the COVID-19 crisis.